Hi, and welcome. I'm Chava Ashkenazi Bloom, and I'd like to welcome you to the fourth episode of the Elul edition of my podcast, It's All About Relationship. As we discussed in the previous podcasts, in every relationship there are times of individuating and times of coming together. But how do we balance these times of differentiation, of separating out from the unity and being involved in our 3 or 4-dimensional world? How do we balance those times with other times of expanding up into divine union? How do we balance our times of running and returning, running into the world and returning into a spiritual world, returning to God? So we live in Olam Hazeh, this physical world, and so we have no trouble connecting with the running part. Our lives are made up of taking responsibility and taking action. We're doing. This is a world of doing, whether it be working for our bread and butter, running to the store, taking care of family, community, taking care of the world. Most of the mitzvahs themselves are active. They're doing in the physical world. And this is as it should be. This world is a world of doing and fixing. But sometimes we forget that when we're doing and fixing here, it's in order to build ourselves, our lives, and the world into a unique, mature, refined other who will then turn and unite in perfect love with God, with the Holy One. Too often we forget about what we're doing here. We forget to turn to Hashem. We forget about returning. Sometimes the shouting of the physical world gets so loud and so overwhelming that it drowns out the still, small voice of the neshama that says, "Come home." We need to have balance. We need to remember Hashem and our mission. And we do that by feeding our godly soul, our creative, mystical, spiritual soul, which is a part of God above. Our soul longs to return back to the heavenly realms, where she's sustained with heavenly presence. And then revitalized, she brings down this energizing light with her into this world. But when we don't listen to our soul's song about what she needs and what she's doing here, we become caricatures of ourselves, strung out, exhausted, superficially involved in 1,000 things, and yet present in none of them. We're flying fast on a treadmill to nowhere. We get so into the running that we forget about why we're running and to where we're running. We need to create space so that we can remember, so that our soul can expand and fly. So how do we do this? In the book, Bilvavi Mishkan Evne, In My Heart I Will Build a Sanctuary, the author writes that the more a person is involved in tumult and commotion, whether it's loud activity, loud speech, or yelling to an acquaintance across the room, the more he becomes distant from his own soul. When a person gives up this loud commotion and enters more deeply into the state of quiet, he can penetrate all the way into the inner serenity deep in the soul. So this is the beginning, he says, just being quiet. So how do we bring that into our lives? For me, watching the sun as it rises over the hills in the morning while I drink my morning cocoa, listening to the birds chirping and fluttering, is one way that I do it. Sometimes just stopping, resting, and taking long, slow breaths. But everyone's different. Explore what works for you. What are the ways you can reach this contemplative, introspective place of connection with the Creator? How do you connect with the divine, with truth, with your own soul? Perhaps it's through prayer, perhaps through meditation, perhaps reflecting on inspirational quotes or meaningful passages from books as you curl up in a cozy chair. Maybe it's spending time at the beach or walking quietly in the forest, listening to music, singing, dancing, watching the sunset, saying Tehillim, the Psalms. I'm sure you have your own list, but the idea is to create space in your life to have times when your soul can expand into closeness with the Holy One, and then to bring that expansive spirit into everything you do in the physical world. Mitzvahs done with kavana, with intention, can be the bridge between these two worlds. Choose one mitzvah and commit to doing that one specifically with kavana. Focus on bringing your God consciousness into the world through this particular physical and spiritual practice, uniting heaven with earth. Make a commitment to take time for reconnecting with your spiritual self and shining out the radiant light of your soul. Through this, we fix the world. We repair what we broke back in the Garden of Eden. Our job is to reveal the godliness inherent in everything, in every place, every time, every person. To make of this physical world a vessel to hold and reveal divinity. Everything we do here can be a way to reveal the godliness hiding within it. And from that place, we can truly relate to God in the highest way. We can create a relationship with Him that is the sweetest, holiest, and the highest. Our head in the heavens and our feet on the ground. It's got to be both. In our next episode, I record a meditative guided visualization. I hope you'll join me.